and introduce our afternoon keynote. This is Ruschy, Chief Talent Officer for a company called Salo LLC, and I will let her introduce the background. Thanks, Ann.
Good afternoon. I am thrilled to be here for the afternoon, for the entire day. Spent the morning in the conference, and like you, I learned a ton. So many things that resonated, so many things that I took away, so many things that I can't wait to take back, not only personally, as we just heard with Chris, but also professionally and what we can do in our workplace to incorporate a lot of the research that you've done and that many of you here are embracing and taking forward. So I'm thrilled to be able to now take what we're doing currently within our organization and share it with you. My hope and goal for this is that during this presentation, you'll take a couple things that you can take back, again, either personally or something that you could incorporate into your workplace. So what I plan to do today is talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. I think it helps to just set the stage of what we do and why we do it and some of the guiding principles that we have. And then I'll talk about how we've incorporated movement in our workplace. This morning there were several questions that came up about, well, how do you talk to HR and how do you get them to buy in? What do you do as far as senior management being involved? We've done it. And I'd like to be able to share some of those things. And then as time goes on at the end, questions on how we got there. If I haven't fully explained it, please let me know. We'd love to share. Love to talk about this. And I hope, again, that you're able to take back a couple nuggets of information that you can incorporate. And then we'll talk some lessons learned and some things that we've done over time that I would, hopefully that you won't have to make the same mistakes that we made along the way, because we did. All right, so who we are. I too have a little bit different side. So first of all, who we are. Organization, Salo. Salo places talent in the finance, accounting, and human resources field. So what we are doing is we are connecting talent to organizations that have work that needs to get done. Basically, we're putting people and work together, okay? So that's what we do as an organization, and that's really, the core of who we are. But we set aside time and created our guiding principles, and those have helped us in every decision that we make, whether it's about any type of workplace movement or anything else that we do. So we start with our mission. Our mission is connecting people, evolving business. Pretty simple, 4 words, seems so easy. Takes a lot of work. If any of you have ever been involved in narrowing down what is it you do and what is your mission, takes effort to just really step back and find out what it is that drives you as an organization, and that again can be your guide to what you do every day. So connecting people, evolving business. Both of those aspects of our mission incorporate movement. It's part of who we are as an organization. It's core. Okay? In addition to that, we went through and outlined our values from an organization perspective. Our values also have incorporated movement throughout. We're passionate about the future state. We want to change. We want to make things different, better, improve. We love to connect people. We've got that value as part of our organization. Okay? We want to bring positivity to every environment that we touch. Okay? Professionalism is part of who we are. We're driven to achieve, and our self-aware and intuition is helpful in what we do as an organization. So all of the values that we have, again, have some type of movement incorporated. But both our mission as well as our values also have a theme of change. And as Jane started out this morning and she talked about change leadership, that's what we do in our organization. We help other organizations change, and for us, it's really important that we are constantly looking in that mirror as an organization saying, what can we do, what can we change so that we continue to have a workplace and a business that people want to be part of. Our culture. You'll hear me talking a little bit about our work that we've done with the Blue Zones organization. And Blue Zones really pushed us to say, great, you've got a mission, you've got your values outlined. What's your culture statement? And we hadn't done that before. So just about a year ago, we stepped back and said, what is our culture statement? And we came up with this. Our spirit is contagious and fun, the law. Our spirit is contagious and fun is the law. And sometimes people see us or they meet us in meetings and we're out and about and they're like, yeah, you guys are so always on and from a professional standpoint, and that's all they see. They see the business side of us. Well, there's another side of us, and any of you who know us know there's another side, and that fun side. And that fun side includes dressing up like our lucky cat, some of the things that we do in our office, including games. We have a pig tournament for March Madness every year, dressing up for Hairband Friday, everyone in the organization. So we've got that fun side of us as well. As an organization, this is really core to who we are. Our mission, our values, and our culture. So I think that's important for everyone to know as we then talk and move into what is it about movement in the workplace. So, movement in the workplace. What do we look like from an office standpoint? This morning we talked a lot about different things organizationally and how things can be set up in any office. So our office space is a wide open space. It's one great big room. No one has an office. We don't have to have an open door policy because no one has a door. That includes the leadership team. That includes the owners. We all sit in a wide open space. Now, what we love about this and what really fits for us as an organization is it encourages collaboration. It encourages us to talk to each other. It encourages us to listen to each other. As part of our culture and our culture of change, we also change where our workspace is. So every 3 to 6 months, we do a stand up, shuffle around, and sit somewhere else. Again, it's core to who we are. That movement and that change of where you sit changes your perspective. So we had a move a few months ago, and someone on my team was just like, she's new to the organization. She hadn't moved yet. She's like, I don't want to move. I love my space. I really don't see the value in me moving to a different place. I don't want to change. She had not been in her new space 30 minutes when she came up and she's like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm sitting next to somebody else that I'm working with. We're working better because we're right next to each other. We're talking differently. And I have a different perspective. I'm seeing things different. I see the office different. So that movement and that change is also incorporated where you have your workspace. It's core to who we are. We do have many sit-stand options as well throughout our workspace. We love our standing desks. When we shift around and move around, we get people fighting for, I want a sit-stand desk. We know the value not because of all the research and all of the things that I heard this morning, but simply because, you know what? I feel better. I like it. I have more energy. So I have a sit-stand desk. I did all the things that you heard this morning that I shouldn't have done. Right out of the gate, I stood all day long. Those first 2 weeks that they talked about in one of the presentations of fatigue, I felt it, right? But after time, it became so habit that I don't sit during the day. If I sit in a meeting, that's the only time, and then I come back to my workstation and I stand. And there's many things that happen with that. One, I heard earlier, what was it called? Social energy. That social energy is so true with the standing desk. I find that in the role that I'm in now, as I stand, I feel like a magnet. People are coming from all different directions. Now, sometimes that could be irritating because you might be working on something and you heard the focus, you're not able to focus. For me, I remind myself always, that's my job. That's why I'm here. I'm here to be able to help others in the organization. I want people to come interrupt me. I want to have that social energy to continue to move in the organization. Okay? Some of the lessons I learned that I heard earlier too is tennis shoes. I do not wear heels all day long. tennis shoes. Every single one of us has tennis shoes under our desk. You walk in, you're at your desk, you throw off your heels, for those of us that are women, some of the guys don't wear heels, and throw on your tennis shoes so that you are comfortable and that we are ergonomically correct in those sit-stand desks. So it's part of our culture. It's part of who we are. It's part of what we've incorporated into the organization. Now, earlier today, you heard Gabe talk from the Mayo Clinic. In 2007, we did a study with the Mayo Clinic and Dr. Levine and Gabe. And in that study, it was all around adding treadmills to our workspace. So we incorporated 16 treadmills throughout the organization. Super fun. We have treadmills in a conference room. You can see in the picture in the upper left-hand corner. And in that conference room, we have 4 treadmills that face each other. What a great way to have a meeting. It's energized. There's movement. Now, let me stop and say, the treadmills go 2 miles an hour. It's not a workout, okay? It's intended to just have movement. It's the stuff that we didn't really know back in 2007 that we've talked about here today. Our bodies were not meant to sit all day long. Okay? The movement in the workplace was incorporated so that we can have those treadmills and the option to jump on a treadmill either in a conference room or in our workspace. So we sign off our computer, move over to a treadmill desk, we sign in, I can type, I can talk, and yes, I can walk at the same time. It changed the culture of our organization. It allowed us to move differently. In addition to that I heard also in one of the comments this morning about walking paths in the office. We mapped out a walking path around the office because we have the option for wireless headsets as well. I can't stand still when I'm on the phone in particular, but have a wireless headset. I can walk anywhere in the office. It's a wide open space. I can be constantly moving and talking. I'm not interrupted by what I see on my computer screen. I'm not interrupted by other things that are distracting. I can walk around the office and concentrate on the phone call that I'm having. Okay? So all of that was done, again, back in 2007, and the results were phenomenal, as you can see here. An average 8.8 pounds over a 6-month period. And the Mayo Clinic literally put a clinic in our office. They tested blood, they tested urine, they had the pods to check in on weight. Okay? Cholesterol reduced. And just as importantly, as many of you alluded to this morning with some of your questions, from the organization ROI, productivity and profitability went up. Okay? It was key. It was important to us. Okay? In addition to some of these things that we have as structural in our office, we also have rituals that incorporate movement. So the Wall Street Journal did a study a few weeks ago about rituals in the office, and they highlighted some of the things that we do in our organization. One thing that we do is every Monday morning, we have a quick staff meeting with everyone in the organization. It's always a standing meeting. We stand in one great big circle. We have an office in Chicago. They're on the screen, FaceTime. They're in a circle. We complete the circle by standing up and do updates on the organization. Sometimes the meeting's 15 minutes, sometimes a half hour. Always standing. Another ritual we have, as I said earlier, we put people and work together. So when we make a placement, when we've made a connection of people and work, we get up out of our desk or from our sit-stand desk and we walk over and we ring a gong. Once that gong goes off in the office, the sound, the energy, everything changes. Everyone in the organization cheers. Some guys also, emphasis, do chest bumps when we've made a placement. So it allows that energy to just continue throughout the whole space. In addition to that, we also have, we're very, very lucky, we know this, we have a game room in our office. And the game room that we have includes all kinds of games, including our ping pong table. Now, I did not know until I came to Salo that there are different ways to play ping pong. You can do the regular, which takes a little bit of movement, or you could do what's called jungle pong, and you have to allow the ball to hit the floor first before it goes back to the table. And you go in order. Sometimes there are 6 people playing this at one time, and you're running around the ping pong table. It's hysterical, and it's full of movement. It changes the energy. It changes everything in the office space. Kind of fun. Now, does everybody have the option of having a game room in their office space? No. Are there other things that can be done as far as rituals in the culture of an organization that can help shift the energy and to keep that movement throughout the day? I do think there are. Okay? Our challenge. So we've got a great office space. We've incorporated a lot of the things that you've talked about today with the sit-stand desks. We encourage people to stand. We encourage people to work on the treadmill desks. So there's constant movement throughout the organization. But over the years, we realized we have a huge challenge. And our challenge is only a fraction of our employees work in the office space that I've just given you pictures of. So we have about 50 people who work in this office, but organizationally, our consultants work all over either the Twin Cities or Chicago, one of our offices. So they're in one of these office buildings, not in our office space, okay? So our challenge was, as we looked at what we do and how we do it as far as incorporating the wellness and well-being into the organization, is how do we reach out to those 300 plus consultants on any given day who are working in an office space that's not ours? And it really made us pause and say, this is great that what we're doing, but it's not that simple. We need to do something else. And what we did is we created a culture club, and Dr. Healy talked about this earlier today about how do you get senior management and others in the organization involved. So our culture club included senior management, someone from each one of our business lines, all in the club, and said, what are we gonna do? How do we take this culture of change and innovation and movement and expand it out into other places that will incorporate our consultants as well? That led us to Blue Zones. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with Blue Zones, I'm gonna give you a really quick synopsis of it right now, and then later Amy Tomzik from the Blue Zones organization will give more detail on it. Basically what Blue Zones is an organization led by Dan Buettner, who's a local author and researcher. What he has done is he's gone to the 5 places in the world where people live the longest and the healthiest, and he did research on those. And what he did with the research from those those communities is he came back and said, what lessons can we learn in our society today where we've got the Blackberries and the I don't have time and different cultures that we have here? What lessons can we take from them and incorporate in our lives? And he came back from that research with what he calls the Power 9. Some of the things we've talked about today, and some that go a little bit beyond just movement in the workplace. So, Power 9, broken down, move naturally. I'll talk a little bit about that. We've already heard some of that today. Right outlook. So right outlook is not only knowing your own personal purpose in life, as well as taking time to downshift. Eat wisely, 80% rule, plant slant, as well as, yes, most of you probably noticed on the slide, wine at 5. Dan found that in the communities where people live the longest, they would take time for wine, a glass, maybe 2 a day. A glass, yeah, yay. A glass, and it's every day. So it's not something where as I heard Dan speak one time, and I was like, yeah, it's so true. We don't save up all week long and then have 7 to 14 on the weekend. It's every day having a glass or 2, and he recommends red wine. I have later in the presentation a copy of the wine that he recommends for that. Connect. The connection piece was really important for us as an organization. Again, we had the dispersed workforce, and many of you probably had the same thing. It's about right tribe. It's about community, and it's about loved ones first. So right tribe, when I walked in here this morning, I don't know if you guys felt it, there was a buzz in here, wasn't there? Everybody was excited, and it was fun, and it was energized. To me, that just rang true with, this is right tribe. We're all here because we have a passion about how we go about living and the knowledge of taking the information about how our bodies work and being able to incorporate that in different aspects. So when you get people together with the same concept, that right tribe piece, the energy soars. Okay? So these are the things, the Power 9 that Dan came back with from the research he did. Again, lessons from the people who live the longest and the healthiest. So what we decided to do was incorporate the Power of 9 into our culture. First thing we did is we had a kickoff meeting. And in our kickoff meeting, we were very intentional about how we set the stage. The very first thing we did is setting the stage. Dan spoke and rode in on a bike. Move naturally. It's key. It's part of all of what we're talking about here. It's not just an exercise program. I heard so much today about it's not just going and working out and then sitting all day long. It's finding ways to incorporate moving naturally and getting up and changing and doing things, okay? So we started out the meeting with Dan coming in on his bike, talking about blue zones, why it's important, really, you know, all of the stats and the statistics about what makes sense. And he then challenged us to say, really? Are you in? Are you interested? Because you don't have to be. We don't have a culture that says everybody has to move, everybody has to use a treadmill desk, and we don't have a culture that would say everybody has to embrace blue zones. During the presentation, Dan said, if you're in, you're in. If you're not, that's okay. We're going to take a break, and if you choose, leave. No judgment. We want people to choose the lifestyle and the things that we are asking or introducing to them, but it's their choice. And it has to be a personal choice. Anything that is going to be pushed from the organization is not going to live long term. So after we took a break, we came back, and just like Chris said, we set goals and made commitments, and we wrote them down. We made commitments as an organization, senior management. What are we going to do for the organization that will ensure that this lives in the organization? And then each individual who decided to participate in the Blue Zones work that we were doing made personal choices as well. Dan said, there's the Power of 9. There's so many different things that you could do. Don't try them all. Try a few. Pick 2, maybe 3 things that you are committing to that you will change in your life, and then embrace those. At the end of that, we made the commitment. We had everybody stand, again intentionally, stand up, commit, yes, we're in, we're doing this. We had 200 people say, yes, I'm in. I want to participate in this work with Blue Zones. That standing in the meeting changed everything. It changed the energy. It was truly that stop, I'm taking a stand here. I'm making a commitment. Pause for a second. Stand up for me, please. Those of you that aren't. Move around a little bit. Shake off some of the afternoon things. Introduce yourself to someone else that you don't know. Take 2 seconds, find somebody in the room and introduce yourself. Hi, Lee. I'm Ann. Nice to meet you.
Quick funny story. So you work with Nancy, right?
I do.
Yeah. Well, so her son
Grant.
works for us, and his father is one of my best friends.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah,
That's
so
so
there's
awesome. All kinds of
strange
connections.
Right.
I love the connections. To me, that's what it's like all about. Yeah. Wow. I wanted to. All right, now, as hard as this is, you can stay standing and you can move around or change your space, but did you feel it? Did you feel what changed in this room? The energy changed, that social energy that we talked about this morning. It changes everything. As simple as stand up, talk to somebody you don't know, make a connection, do something. It changes everything. So if there's something that you can take back to your personal and to your professional world, stand up, move around, make a change. Okay? So that's how we kicked off our work with the Blue Zones. And then what we did is we took the 4 categories of the Power 9, and we found ways to incorporate those 4 things into our work. So the Move Naturally was part of who we were already. We have the treadmill desks, okay? We have movement, we have opportunities to do that. So that was already part of our culture. But what we were able to do is to encourage more of that. So what we did is ensure that we had opportunities for more standing meetings all throughout the office. So you'll notice on the picture on the left, we had incorporated several additional Ergotron sit-stand desks, okay? This is some of the experimentation that we did, okay? What we did is we lined them up. We put on rows of these desks. We had the 2 screens and said, here, what a team, take it and run with it, have some fun. Seems pretty logical in our workspace. Seems like it would work. Seemed like it would be pretty successful. Didn't work. It did not work in our workspace, and we didn't quite know why, but because it was an experiment, it was all okay. It didn't have to work. When you experiment, instead of just saying, oh, we're going to do this and this is the way it is, when you experiment, it's okay if it doesn't work because you learn from it. So we stepped back and we're like, what's not working? What wasn't working is we had rows. They were lined up, right? We had people who no longer could see each other. We had computer screens in between. It was like having a cubicle wall, which we don't have in our space. It was putting a divider between people. It didn't fit for us. It didn't fit for our mission of keeping people connected. It didn't fit for our culture. It changed the energy. So we made a change because we were experimenting. It didn't matter. So we were able to change. We shifted it, same workstations. We put it in a circle. We put a table in the middle, and now we have workstations around, but a table in the middle so we can still collaborate. We can turn around, we can talk, the energy continues to flow. So it was fun. We learned from our experiment. So that Move Naturally piece was incorporated in our workspace. In addition to that, we encouraged a lot more walking around the office, walking places. We posted throughout the office how many steps, literally, how many steps to all the local places, how many steps to the grocery store, how many steps to the restaurants in the area, how many steps to the park, so that we could encourage people to say, walk more, get up and move throughout the day. So Move Naturally. The other piece, eat wisely. This was fun for us because some of the things that we talk about, we think eat naturally, it's like, oh, we know the healthy things and the things we need to eat. Blue Zones challenged us to say, well, wait a minute, let's take some of the lessons learned from these communities and incorporate them into the way that we live. One of the first ones was the plant slant. Eat more plants. Okay? We logically know that in many aspects, eat your fruits and vegetables. But how did we incorporate that? In ways that we live. In our meetings, in our events, we ensured that we had a plant slant in the food that we served. In addition, one of the things we did is we brought people back together after our kickoff meeting, and we had a cooking class. And the cooking class was all about cooking with a plant slant. Okay? Does it mean you don't eat meat ever? No. But what it does mean is that there's an emphasis on working on adding plants into our diet, so that we do have a way to improve the way that we eat. So it became part of our culture again. So, if you see somebody walking in with a hamburger and French fries, they didn't get completely shunned, but they were surrounded by people who weren't eating that kind of food. And that changed the environment. I laughed as time went on with the work that we've done with Blue Zones. You open up the refrigerator in our office, the food changed. I should have done a before and an after picture of some of the food. Some of the food in there would have been your typical food that you'd have, some of the convenience food that Chris mentioned that have all the labels and the ingredients on it. It changed. I just looked yesterday. There were like 5 bags of carrots that people had brought in for themselves as snacks. We have nuts everywhere because nuts are a healthy way and a healthy snack to be incorporated. Hard-boiled eggs. adding hard-boiled eggs to different things. We, again, open up the refrigerator, there's tons of them in there. Because the environment was so supportive of all of this, it changed how everyone behaved. It was no longer, ooh, I'm over here trying to eat healthy, and I'm amongst everybody else who isn't. It was just the opposite. Everybody was attempting to work toward eating healthier and incorporating that in their lives. Okay? Again, on the Eat Wisely, the food that we served at our meetings. You know, adding in some healthy options. Did we always have that? We do a monthly celebration, another one of our rituals, where we stand around and we celebrate birthdays and anniversaries with the organization. And yes, we all sing happy birthday, and then we have a celebration, and it does include some type of sweet, so a cake or a pie or something like that, but we also have healthy options, because all of this is about choice and having choices and having options. Okay? We also added an herb garden. How simple is that? We had someone who was very, very passionate about growing herbs. So we have 2 of these sitting on our windowsill, and anybody during the day when you're making something for lunch, you can walk over and snip something off and add it to your food, or take it home. Again, it incorporates bringing in more of the Eating Wisely to the organization. And yes, the wine that I promised to share. This is the wine that Dan recommended throughout his studies that has the highest level of antioxidants in it that will then help move things from your body perspective. It helps, again, from that wine at 5 and that connection piece to eating wisely. Okay? So, eating wisely, moving naturally. Those are probably the ones that seem to fit right away for us as an organization. The other 2 took us a little bit and moved us in a different direction. Yes, there we go. Right outlook. Knowing your purpose and being able to articulate it. One of the things that we found throughout the process that we did this with, we did an assessment at the beginning, several assessments actually. We did assessments in the middle, and we did assessments at the end. Okay? At the beginning, one of the things that we found about this community of 200 people who volunteered to be part of this, found that we were not able to easily articulate our purpose. Some didn't know it at all, some just didn't know how to articulate it. So we did a workshop where we brought Richard Leiter from the U of M in. He wrote a book called Repacking Your Bags, and we had him walk us through the process of narrowing down and identifying for ourselves what is our purpose. Why do we get out of bed in the morning? Why, when we get out of bed and our feet hit the ground, are we so super excited about what's next and what are we doing? Because when that purpose aligns with everything else that we do in life, we're happier. And when we're happier, we live longer. And it all incorporates together. Okay? In addition to that, under the right outlook, we incorporated downtime. So yeah, we have a culture of movement. We have treadmills, we have sit-stand desks, we walk around the office, we do all of these things. We also incorporated downtime. 1 time a week, on your calendar, meditation. In the office. Go into a conference room, 9 minutes. Chris said it, I don't have time. 9 minutes. Go into the conference room, someone guides us through a meditation, and boom, you're back at the office. It is so simple to incorporate. Not everybody does it. Many people who had never meditated in their life tried it and started to incorporate it into their weekly ritual. So it's being able to use some of these things from an organization standpoint and incorporate them in the everyday life. Again, it's all about choice and having options and having places where it works in the organization. And then the 4th of the different categories within Blue Zones is connect. Obviously, it's part of our mission, that connection piece. And so one of the things that we did under the connection piece was to really emphasize, 1, volunteer activities. So from a volunteer standpoint, we had many of the people in the organization gather together and do things like cooking for the Minneapolis Crisis Nursery, making breakfast for the kids, making lunch, doing it as a team. That connectedness is a piece of it, but giving back to the community is a big piece. Kara Levin did a story on this last week, and it was a story that had statistics from United Health Group about the impact of volunteerism on individuals. And it talked about the fact that the people who volunteer the most had reduced stress, they felt healthier, and they felt more engaged. So it's like the benefit of giving comes back to us as an organization. It comes back to us as individuals. There's so much value in that volunteerism, and so much that we found not only doing it as a team, but finding ways to connect individual passion to the places we volunteer. One of the things we do as an organization that I have never seen another organization do, and I'd encourage this more and more, is we actually have on our job descriptions, join a board. In a job description, join a board, get active, do something, make a connection to another organization. So I had the opportunity to join a board for Project Success. It's an organization I'm very, very passionate about. I'm supported. I'm encouraged to do this. I get so much value personally. And when I come back into the office after a board meeting, I am on such a high that I know that I perform better. It all ties together. I'm happier. Well, use Chris's information. If you're happier, you're going to perform better. That's what it's all about. So I found that this connection and this key as part of our Blue Zones work, truly that volunteerism and the community made a difference for us. So another part of the connection, as I mentioned at the beginning when we were looking at this, is we have people all over, okay? So how do we bring people together? What we did in our very first meeting is we broke up into small groups. So if you look around, the tables you're sitting or standing at could be what would be called from the Japanese culture a moai. And a moai is where like-minded people come together for a purpose. Okay? For us, it was to help be a support group for each other as we walk through this journey with Blue Zones. How do we make sure we incorporate these things? We set goals at the beginning, we made a commitment, but how do you make sure it happens? Because if you say you're going to do this, and then 6 months later, did you do it? Oh, gee, I forgot after about a month, right? Or a week, or a day. Okay? So in these small groups that we brought people together, they were groups of people who didn't really know each other. What we did is we had an ambassador, one person who led the group, and just ensured that we got together. We did phone calls every 2 weeks, 30 minutes. Everybody gets on the phone. Anywhere in the city, country, people who traveled, whatever worked for them, 30 minutes. What's going on? What's working? What do you need help with? I'm trying to do this and it's not working. I just did this and it was awesome. Really, how can I learn from you on that? And we came together as we did those calls over this 6-month period and learned so much about each other. And even though it was by phone every 2 weeks, we really got connected as a small group, as a moai. And then, as we had events, we had 4 different events throughout this. We brought people together and we sat together as a moai. In addition to all of that, we encouraged every group to have monthly potluck dinners where they came together and tried out recipes that you'd never tried before. So, I'm not a cook. I don't enjoy cooking. Thank goodness my husband does. I don't enjoy doing that, okay? So it came around to our time to host a potluck at our house. So we were in charge of the main menu, right? Like, all right, I'm doing this. I spent probably 2 weeks researching different types of recipes. What could I do? What would be a great plant slant way to incorporate food into this, right? I came up with a recipe that was so awesome. My kids loved it. It was all kinds of roasted vegetables and pasta mixed together, and I got so crazy. It had a marinara sauce. So, oh yeah, I wasn't gonna go just buy a jar. I got tomatoes. I roasted the tomatoes with all of the herbs, and then I created my own marinara sauce. So it was amazing, super fun, and yes, I'll do it again. It became something that, have I ever done that before? No. Would have I have done something where I really researched this and went to that degree of like not using a jar tomato sauce? No, I wouldn't have done it. This opportunity really took me out of my comfort zone and pushed me to a place where now at our meals, we incorporate at home some of the things that we learned not only from the meal that we hosted, but the meal that other people hosted throughout this. Okay? So it was super fun. And again, it brought us together and that connectedness and that right tribe. When we got together, I would think, oh yeah, this is great. couple hours. You know, I'll get home, you know, we'll get going. Never, 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 never. We got together, we'd get talking, people we didn't know before this. And now as an organization, we've really, or as a MOI, we've pulled together and became connected and became a good support group for each other. One thing I neglected to say back at the beginning when we opened this up, it wasn't just for us and our consultants, so our internal employees and our consultants. We also invited everyone to encourage their significant others to join. So my husband also joined the MOI I was in. It was a great thing to do together. That love one first, to be able to do things and really embrace doing something different with a group of people we didn't know, but we're doing it together, and we're on this journey. And it was really a lot of fun. In fact, this is our MOI. And if you can see the picture there, yeah, we had several of those bottles of wine. So we had a lot of fun, and we enjoyed it. In fact, tonight at the organization, at the office, we've completed our 6-month study with Blue Zones, but it does still live and will live as part of our culture. And tonight we are having a potluck at the office, encouraging anyone who is involved in the Blue Zones to come to our office, bring food, and enjoy getting together. Okay? 4 aspects: the move naturally, eat wisely, right outlook, and connect. We incorporated doing it different ways. We tried things on. We went through some of this and said, you know, what works for us, what doesn't, what works as an individual, what works within the organization. And all of this had a significant impact on who we were as an organization. So as I said, we did lots of different studies and assessments throughout our process. And one of the things that we did in our assessments with the Blue Zones is there was one of the assessments that measured happiness. It was very extensive. It asked a lot of different questions. When we went through that at the beginning, so in September of 2012, the number or the percentage of people who gave themselves a score of A in happiness as we started was 47%. Oh. Well, I lost it. 6 months later, just 6 months later, the score went from 47% of people saying A to 77% saying, I'm happy. I like life. I'm engaged. And that is really a huge shift. Chris said it when she was just talking. If you're happy, you are going to perform better. And that's what it was about for us. It wasn't about, you know, all of the dollars and expenses. It was like people wanting to be at work and being happy together. That was a huge motivator for us in doing this work. So we're thrilled with those scores. Is it the only thing? Absolutely not. Somebody earlier today was asking questions about healthcare costs and the actual ROI to healthcare costs. So we are measuring those. We're measuring many different things. Because we want to have a full year of measurement, we won't have those numbers until the end of the 3rd quarter, so in a few months. I can tell you it feels like we're making progress in all of these areas. We don't have large claims. We don't have a lot of claims. We're looking at all aspects. Is it the only reason we do all of the work we do regarding movement in the workplace and all of this innovation? No. Is it a great benefit? Absolutely. It makes a difference. It changes how we do our work. Okay? Now, a number we are super excited about. 6-month study that we started this, just measurement specific, September 2012 to April 2013. Our revenue grew 19%. I mean, really. Wouldn't any organization be like 19% increase in revenue in that time frame? Now, the first question I would ask if I was listening to this, can you attribute it all to the movement and the innovation and the Blue Zones and all of that? I don't know. Can I break it down specifically how much of those percentages? No. Do we know as a senior management team that yes, it makes a difference? Absolutely. We know that by creating a workplace that people want to be part of and that they're engaged and they're having fun and that we're encouraging an environment of healthy habits, that it makes a difference on the work we do? Absolutely. We know a significant piece of this 19% of increase in our revenue has to do with what we are choosing as an organization to emphasize. So we're thrilled with this. As I promised, some lessons learned, some of the things that we learned along the way. First of all, environment matters. It does make a difference, whether it's the office space, whether it's the desk that sits stand, the treadmill, whether it's the food that you encourage at meetings, the type of meetings you have, the standing meetings, how we choose to incorporate not only employees, but our significant others and families in that community. The environment matters. As you go back and look at the culture of your organization, how does what you're doing today align with what your mission and your values are? We know that the work we've done has gone so far to push our mission and our values and challenged us to even go back and say, what more can we do? And it's not about an initiative. Many people say, oh, what's your wellness initiative? And I kind of cringe at that, because initiative to me is like a start and a stop. And we're not about a start and a stop. We're layering on, we're adding to, we're improving, we're changing. We're trying to constantly look at ourselves and say, what can we do better that will help our employees and the people that are important into our lives live longer, live healthier, live better, because that really is what matters. So it goes beyond the workplace, it goes to the families, and then it goes to the communities. And that expansion of what we do, we know matters throughout in everything that we do. Okay? Some of environment matters in culture, as far as many people ask about recruiting and retention. We had a ton of people hear about our Blue Zones work and come to us and say, I want to work for you. I had one call a few months ago. The person says, I so want to work for you. I know what you're doing as a culture and as an organization, and I so want to work for you. And I'm like, great. What do you do? She's a nurse. Like, I'd love to help. I really would. I'd love to have you be part of our organization, because I know you're passionate about the same things we are and that right tribe feeling. Let's bring you in. But really, there's nothing for you to do here. I'll do anything, she said. It doesn't matter. Like, yeah, that's really not going to align for you to be doing something like that. That's not aligned with truly who you are. So it starts with what work do people want to do, and then aligning with the culture and being part of an organization like this. The other lesson is continue to experiment. Try things. If we don't get so invested in this has to work and shove this down people's throat, it becomes something where it's like, huh, I don't know, let's try. Let's have fun. And when you experiment and have a mentality with that, then if it doesn't seem to work, like our rows of the desks, okay, it doesn't work. What if we put them in a circle? Wow, that works. So it continues to move us forward, and it continues to help us as an organization stay innovative. And then the last piece about any change and anything that goes on in an organization is communicate, communicate, communicate. So, you know, as a practitioner in the change world, we know that in order to have people change, it starts with their head. It moves to their heart before anything happens from an action standpoint. So if you are thinking about making changes in your organization, if you're looking at how do we incorporate some of this into the organization that you're working with, think about the mindset, not only of the employees, but the mindset of the company. How does it fit? Does it align with the work you do? Does it align with your mission and your values as an organization? There's a lot of data I heard this morning, and in that data, there's so much that helps from, wow, this logically makes sense. You've got to go to the next step and get to what's personal. Engagement's all about personal. Why should I care? What difference does it mean to me? And the work that we've done in our organization, we've taken it from the concept of why it works for the organization, but we've brought it to why does it work for the individual? Because when it's in their heart as well, you don't have to force them to do it. You just give them the option. They'll choose it because it aligns with what they want, and then their engagement and that connection will take them to the last step, which is action. They'll do something about it. So make sure that as you think about any change, but especially a change around movement or culture and really that innovative spirit, is that you start with the data, the information, the why, but you connect to the personal side, that engagement, because if it doesn't connect personally, it will not resonate, it will not stick. And then support change and action throughout the organization. So the lessons we learned throughout this is, find a way to ensure that your environment supports who you are as an organization. Experiment, have fun with the experimentation. Failures happen, big deal, change, success will be next. And then truly work through the change model and incorporating all of the things that you're doing in a supportive environment so that the organization can then move forward. So that's what we're doing. I hope there's things that are helpful, and I'd love to take any questions that you may have about things that we have going on or things that you would like to know about any of these initiatives. So what questions do you have? We got one back here first.
How did you involve your vendor partners in what you were doing? I'm thinking medical, EAP, some of those others that support your employees. Did you involve them, and if so, how, and were they supportive of the initiative?
They were very supportive, and yes, we incorporated all of the work we did with the vendors. So Ergotron worked with us to help us have additional sit-stand desks. Our medical broker, our insurance broker, worked with us on how are we going to put these measurements together. So it went from the office space and the structure and the things that we incorporated to the service offerings that we have and the types of insurance plans and things so that we were working together. And what happens with us, because some of the things that we're doing are different, they're innovative, we had many of our vendor partners say, what are you doing over there? Can I see it? Well, come on. We love to give tours. So if any of you here would like to see what we do and feel more of what you see in the pictures, come over. We love to show off the space. So yes, we did work very closely with our vendors. Yes.
Ours was a very, very important question.
Oh, good.
We couldn't read the label on that wine.
Ah, very true. Okay, so I've done a lot of these conversations.
I'm
that
glad you
question
asked.
always comes up. I will get you that. You will get a copy of that, and we can get that to you. I will make sure that Wendy gets that specifically. So a funny story on the wine. So I told you we had the Moai dinner for our group at our house, right? So about a month before then, I said, well, I want to get some of that wine. So I worked through the organization. I got a case of that wine. Okay, great. About a day before we were having everyone over, I said to my husband, I was like, okay, we got to pull out some of that wine so that we have the wine for the event, right? Guess how many bottles we had left of that case? 0. So, yeah, we bought another case. We love it. We have it often at our house. So, I will get you that.
Your name, please.
Lee Schock with Ergotron. So my question is, you explained how the remote employees that aren't in either of the offices kind of got pulled into some of the, the way that you managed to keep them involved. I'm just curious about the trickle down to where they're on site, because obviously you generate a buzz by getting them involved, and sometimes they're on site. I'm just curious if you had a lot of people go, that's interesting, we should try that, or what are you guys doing, things like that. How did that expand?
We did hear stories from our consultants that they then went back, they came to our events, whether it was the purpose workshop or the cooking workshop, and just the different moais, they would go back into their workspace, and either the way that they were eating or the things that they were choosing to do at work, that we heard stories from our consultants saying, what are you doing? What's that all about? Or if they knew or they saw something on the news about us, like, you work for that organization, what's going on over there? So we did have the opportunity through our consultants to bleed this into some other organizations as well, so that they had the opportunity to hear what we were doing and make, again, a choice on whether or not they wanted to start incorporating it in their workspace. Yeah. So we love that piece of it because it goes, again, beyond what we do. It bleeds into the families as well as into the communities, which then goes into many other organizations. So that's huge for us. We want that. We want to have that shared. It may have something to do with our 19%, absolutely.
Are there any other questions for Anne? Well, you'll know where to find her. Thank you so much,
you.
Anne. Another round of applause.